listening to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast, your source for all the latest post-apocalyptic news.
A hearty welcome to all of you out there wandering the wasteland. I'm your host, your guide to this slow apocalypse, the unmoved mover of Aristotelian philosophy, the caller of bluffs, and the undisputed king of controversy. You can call me Derek. I'm joined by the weaver of words, gears, and plywood, a man who works tirelessly to build his off-grid utopia, senior editor of postapocalyptic.com, none other than Sean.
Thank you, Derek. The check is in the mail.
Next, we have the queen of the interwebs, slayer of lies and fallacies. Her articles are read by millions of people every single month from topics as diverse as COVID news, Hallmark movies, and cat training. But most importantly, she reports on the end of the fucking world. As the co-founder and editor-in-chief of postapocalyptic.com, of course I'm talking about Stephanie.
Hello.
Last but not least, we have a visionary and a scholar, creator of a dozen websites, crafter of content, carrying ever the banner of classic post-apocalyptic fare. His YouTube has more than 1 million hits to classic post-apocalyptic videos that are now in public domain. Hailing from an undisclosed location in the middle of the ocean, we've got Bill.
Hey, thank you very much, Derek. Thanks for having me again. Pleasure to be here.
Let's get right to it, guys. We have a ton to talk about this week. We had a week off last week, so we have a lot to catch up on. Lots of stuff going on. First of all, I want to tell you that A Quiet Place 2 is now available on streaming. You can watch that on Paramount Plus. Mm-hmm. So check that out if you liked Quiet Place 1. I sure did, and I will. I think we're all looking forward to that. Later on, we're going to have information about why The Last Man, which is a popular comic book series, and that's being converted into another medium, right?
Yep.
All right.
Television.
It's being converted into a television medium, which is the one I prefer. So I'm interested in that. War of the Worlds is right now airing in season 2, and we're going to have some discussion about that at the end of the episode. We put it at the end of the episode so that we can be a little more spoilery than maybe some people would like. So we'll give you a fair warning before we get into War of the World spoilers and let you send you on your way if you're not interested in being spoiled about that. If you're on the level, though, and you want to discuss it, we're current, except for some of us. So they'll just have to plug their ears and...
the non-inclusive we.
Okay, we've got... we'll also discuss Loki just a little bit. No spoilers discussion on Loki, we've decided. Just because it's too soon. It just finished like a week ago. So we're going to give you a little bit of time before we talk about that. Why are we talking about it in Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast? I guess you'll just have to find out. We're going to be talking about Alone, Project Zomboid, which is a sweet game that Sean's been playing, and he's going to give us the skinny on that. Attack on Titan has news. There is an upcoming Dune trailer, and the moon might wobble and kill us all. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. I prefer to call it twerking. The moon is twerking.
That's pretty good.
I was not expecting that. That's great.
All right. Well, let's start with that because I can't think of anything else while the moon is threatening to wobble at us. What's going on with that?
Well, it's basically this thing, and I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but the moon wobbles a lot. It's like every 18 years. It has this little kind of a shift in its orbit that makes like a wobble, very, very slightly. But the problem becomes when you combine that wobble, which, of course, the moon dictates the rising tides and the low tides and everything. So when you mix that with global warming and climate change, which has rising sea levels all over the world, so now you have risen sea levels with a higher tide. So it's like a double, it basically is causing flooding in the coastal areas. And they're saying because of the way the world turns, on its axis and everything, the United States, North America, is prime for the flooding, basically more than anywhere else in the world, because of where we're situated, plus the the moon wobble, plus the rising sea level. So it's kind of this perfect storm that's coming together to wipe out Florida, basically.
Jeez.
And California. I don't know.
What about Oregon and Washington?
Probably, yeah, Portland. Sorry.
I mean, you have a super volcano underneath Washington, and
Yeah.
that could actually knock out the whole region. So
Oh my.
there's
So
other concerns up there.
do I
Yeah,
need to just move to a mountain somewhere in the middle of...
that's what I did.
Yeah, that's what you did. Smart.
Yeah, and then here I am living on an island surrounded by ocean. So luckily I am kind of up the hill a little bit. But
Nice.
that was actually a University of Hawaii study that put
Yeah.
this out. So like Sean said, with the 18-year cycle, for 9 years of that, we get kind of lower tides than normal. And then for the next 9 years of that, we get higher tides than normal. And so we're actually in the high tide stage now. And so it's going to drop down, but then it's going to come back up in the 2030s. And by then, like Sean said, with climate change and the rising sea levels, that next time that high point comes around, that's when it's really going to hurt us.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So yeah, you don't want to
2030s.
live right on the beach 15 years from now.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not even that far away.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I advocate seasteading. Seasteading, of course, is the idea that you could build some sort of synthetic land that floats in the ocean and live on it. So
Pretty cool.
it's
Waterworld.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Waterworld, exactly. It's theoretical right now, and one reason it's theoretical is because the last guy that tried it got thrown in jail for trying
No
it.
way.
Oh, jeez.
So he didn't want to be part of any government, and governments have a problem with that. So they grabbed his little defenseless vessel that he had custom built. And I'm not sure what happened to him. Last I checked, he was still in custody, and they were scared because they thought it was like I think it was around maybe Taiwan that he tried that. But the idea like simultaneously is like derided in that way, where like the one guy that tried it got arrested, but at the same time you have like the UN backing resolutions to like try to make it happen someday. So. Not really sure where the dividing line in that thought process is, but if you could live on the ocean, if you had the ability to do that, I think I'd go join you.
If you live in the middle of the ocean, you're also more likely to see aliens, right?
Oh, yeah, because their bases are all under the ocean.
And the drones that come out. So, added bonus.
Yeah. Well, I have in my mind that I have like a dolphin pet who's like, hangs around the house like the dog or something, and fish all day. You jump in your little boat and go to town. You don't want to be too far from civilization, probably, unless you're Sean and you're just trying to get up.
Yeah.
I mean, before long, we're going to have great Amazon drone deliveries that can just deliver right out to the
that's
middle of the
true.
ocean or the top of a mountain.
That's exciting. Okay, wait, we'll move on. But if you're interested in seasteading, let me know. I'm building a Rolodex or something. All right. Now I want to hear about why The Last Man. Now, as I understand, Bill, you've read all of the comics.
Yes, just recently. So yeah, as we know, there's a few different post-apocalyptic shows coming up. Got Walking Dead in August and C in August, and then on September 13 is when Why the Last Man premieres on Hulu.
Yay.
And Yeah, so the comic series started in 2002, I believe, ran through 2008.
Oh.
It's about 60 issues total, so it's not, too much of a time investment. So yeah, I'm on vacation this week, so I figured I had some time to kill. I was trying to think of some shows to watch or some books to read, something like that. So I figured, well, okay, maybe I'll hop into the comic since it's quick, and I'll catch up in time for the show. So it turns out Comixology, the free trial, will get you, you're basically into their unlimited plan.
Oh,
and
no kidding.
it doesn't get you the whole series, unfortunately, but it does get you the first two combined issues. It gets you through about issue 12 on the free trial. And then you have to, acquire the next set. But yeah, I sat down and went through the whole thing. So as far as the TV show goes, we had put up an article a few days back about a very short teaser that had come out to kind of show what the show is going to look like. The whole teaser was only about 3 seconds long, but we did get some good imagery of what the environment is going to look like, and kind of showed us some of the main characters. But now that I've read the comic, I'm kind of wondering how much of that comic is going to translate over into the show. Kind of the best part for me, and I'm not a comic guy. This might be the first series that I've ever read start to finish as far as comics
wow.
go.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I've read through maybe issue 120 of The Walking Dead, out of 180 total, something like that.
Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, that's
I read
quite a bit of
some
reading.
Commandy back in the day, but I've never finished an entire series. But anyway, so yeah, I sat down and read the whole thing. So my favorite part is the character of Yorick himself. He's not like a wise guy, but he's sort of a jokester.
All right, before you go any further, I'm coming from a place with no background in Why the Last Man. Give me just the setting, just a little bit.
Okay, so the high level overview, and this is not a spoiler, and I won't give away any major spoilers for the comic, but the premise is that basically all the men, or actually all male mammals, just drop dead one day. And I don't know how they're going to portray it in the show, but in the comic, it's blood pouring out of the eyes, vomiting blood. Everybody just croaks. So, all the men, all the cats, all the dogs, all the rats, anything with a Y chromosome, they're all just dead. With the exception of the main character, Yorick, and his pet monkey, who he has named Ampersand. And so Yorick, like I said, he's basically an amateur magician, or basically an escape artist mostly. And he's got this really cool sense of humor, and he must have, grown up in the 80s and 90s, because a lot of his jokes and his references are all kind of stuff that I would remember, because I'm old and would be too young for you guys. Like if I were to have like a handheld computer and I were to call it Ziggy, would you guys have any idea what I'm talking about?
I wouldn't.
Is that Quantum Leap?
That's from Quantum Leap. Yeah. See, only the old folks would get that kind of thing.
Didn't watch Quantum Leap.
Or like, one time he tells this guy, like, oh, you split more infinitives than Gene Roddenberry, which is a callback to boldly go instead of to go boldly, or, that kind of thing. So anyway, that's the type of humor that he has.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I'm wondering if that, if they're going to incorporate that aspect of his character into the TV show. But yeah, so it's basically Yorick and his monkey are the only two guys left alive. Another thing I'm not sure how they're going to handle in the show versus in the comic is, in the comic, in the course of 60 issues, they basically go around the entire world. They go from DC to LA, Australia, Japan, China, Paris, and there's a lot of twists and turns, and comic books, stuff can just kind of happen without a ton of explanation why. But I think they could get several seasons out of it, depending how it goes. I'm not sure how FX usually is as far as if they let shows run for a few seasons or if they end up getting canceled. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot in this.
Is it what do you think about like how racy it's going to be? Is it going to be like adults only, or is it going to be like more family friendly?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point of the comic is so basically, like I said in the comic, there's one guy alive and everybody else is all women, right? And so, I don't know if this would really happen, but this is just in the comic. So there's a lot of lesbianism in the comic. There's a lot of women using words to describe other women that I probably wouldn't in polite conversation. And yeah, I mean, he's the only guy around, and so all the women want to jump his bones as soon as they find him. So there's a lot of that going on. But at the same time, Yorick, part of the point of the comic is that he's looking for his girlfriend, and so he does try to hold off the women as much as possible. But of course, he's not always successful. Yeah, like in the teaser, we saw the environment they showed looked really post-apocalyptic, like dead bodies laying in the street, pile-ups of cars on the freeways. And in the comic, there was some of that, but they sort of just kind of glossed over it. Most of the areas they travel to sort of have a functioning government, though it's not, the United States necessarily. There are, groups of fanatics that, are like chasing them to try and make sure they kill the last man, and then,
kill him.
Yeah, well, because they figured Mother Earth wanted all the men wiped out, and so they need to finish the job.
Jeez.
And then there's other groups like, from other countries that find out about him, and then they send like commando units after him to capture him to try and get him back to their country to, repopulate just their lands. And so there's a lot of different ways that it could go. But yeah, as far as the themes go, it's pretty adult, I would think.
Yeah,
definitely not not for kids. Yeah.
Sounds like they're going in that direction.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
With these streaming services, I've noticed that mainstream stations are starting to push the boundaries a lot.
Yeah, they know they have to compete with cable, so
Well, that's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to see it. Any news on when it's going to be dropping?
Yeah, September 13 is the premiere.
Oh wow!
Gosh.
Is it on Hulu?
Yeah, it's on FX on Hulu. So yeah, just on regular Hulu subscription. So as far as I know, it's going to be a weekly thing, I think.
Yeah, I think like Handmaid's Tale released the first 3 episodes and then one every week after that. So I wonder if they're going to do something similar.
Yeah, They'll probably drop enough to get us hooked, and then we'll have to wait. But like I said, C comes out August something, and that's going to be 6 or 8 weeks long. So that'll still be going on, and that's also going to be weekly. Walking Dead is August 22. And they're going to have only like 6 or 7 episodes. They're going to have like 3 mini seasons, like with breaks in between.
Yeah, I heard that too. Very interesting.
But yeah, so that one will still be going on for the first part of Why the Last Man, but both of those will finish, and then hopefully Why the Last Man gets at least, I haven't heard how many episodes, at least 8, hopefully 10 or 12. But yeah, we'll be good through, October, and then what's the other one? What's the other Walking Dead one with the kids? That one comes back.
World Beyond.
World Beyond, yeah. So that one, I guess, comes back in October, so...
Oh, that's
World
exciting.
Beyond. World Beyond heats up at the end.
It does.
I'm looking forward to it coming back.
Me too.
That's great. And I will point out that some people have pointed out the similarities between Adventure Time, which is the last human boy and his pet, his close friend Pet, and kind of some of the setup for Why the Last Man. Of course, there's probably both callbacks to A Boy and His Dog, but there are some similarities there. So maybe there's going to be some overlap as far as if you loved Adventure Time, maybe you're going to love Why the Last Man. Of course, Adventure Time starts out a kids show and never moves to lesbians
How long does that
trying
take?
to rape someone.
That transition.
The Adventure Time transition?
Yeah, is it like a couple episodes or a couple seasons?
Oh, seasons. Yeah,
Okay.
It grows with its audience, I think, is what their mentality was. So you start out with a 12-year-old audience, then by season 8, you're at you got to be appealing to 20-year-olds.
Yeah, I tried to watch the first episode and I couldn't get through it, but maybe I'll stick to it again.
Yeah, it changes. It changes a lot over the years.
Nice.
Okay, so moving on, I want to hear about. Okay, so I've heard from a lot of different people about this reality TV series. Now, I'm not generally into reality TV, even though I like to prep and I like to think about those things. For some reason, I just don't love sitting there watching Bear Grylls explain it. I don't know why, but but there's this series that kind of appeals to that same niche, I think. And people have been telling me, a lot of people have been saying, Derek, you need to watch this series. And I have told them, yes, I will. And have proceeded not to watch it. So thankfully, Sean here has been watching Alone and has some things to say.
Well, first of all, Alone is kind of my ultimate show anyway, you know, like I would love to just be like on an island somewhere in Alaska, like, you know. I tell that to my wife and she's like, what are you trying to say? But I think it'd be great. And so I'm a big fan of the show. I've been watching it. It's on season 8 now. I'm not caught up to season 8, but I am catching up through season 7 now. Hulu doesn't have season 8 yet. So that's the reason I don't have it. Netflix and Hulu both have it. I think even Amazon has it too.
Wow.
So season 7, the first few seasons were basically where they drop someone off, and they drop a bunch of people off, and they're in these different locations where they can't really see each other. I think though a couple of the episodes they meet up with each other, which I think they fixed that and got them further apart in further seasons. But so they drop them off in these different locations, and they basically say, you know, you get to bring a couple things from home. You get to, like, a lot of people bring pictures of the family or like a survival knife or, you know, some kind of special tool,
like a pot.
But that, but that's it. And then they have to survive 100% on their own.
Wow.
And it's usually like 30 days. Well, season 7 is interesting because it's 100 days. And
wow.
Yeah. And so, and the thing is that the prize is bigger. If they make it that 100 days, they get $1 million. Yeah, I think it's $1 million.
Wow.
So, and I'm not done with the season yet, so I don't know who won, but I'm about 3/4 of the way through. And it's interesting because so you have these people from all over the world, and they come together. Well, they don't come together. They're separated.
They're alone.
But you get to see each one's story. You know, they cut, you know, to this guy and this girl and back and forth. And it's really interesting to see. A lot of it too is they're mostly in Canada. I think this one is in the Arctic. And a lot of it is on like traditional native land. So they have to respect the native cultures. They can't just go out and kill animals. You know, they have to kill an animal a certain way. They can't kill certain animals like foxes and stuff like that. And I think that's interesting because in this season there was actually a guy who trapped a fox, and he was starving, and he was like, "Oh, I wish I could eat that thing, but I have to let it go." You know, because of the laws and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, so he let it go, and but you know they stay alive with fishing and catching moose and caribou and stuff like that, which is crazy. Taking down a moose.
I was gonna say moose are insane.
Yeah, and a lot of them just make bows and arrows themselves, and then they make their own shelters. I mean, I think one of my favorite things about it is you learn so much about you know, what you would do in that situation, like just straight up survival, like real survival. You know, they have cameras that they operate themselves. There's no camera crews following them around.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
So they have like a handful of GoPros, and a lot of them complain, and they say the worst part about it is actually like charging the batteries and like carrying these cameras around and tripods and all this stuff, because they have to set one up over here, then they walk over here, then they have to pick it up, move it over here, and they're like, "Oh, I hate that part." So that's funny because it's, you know, not accurate, I guess, with a real situation. But it's a really good show.
The contestants, whatever you call them, are they people with like a survival background, or are they just, you know, soccer moms and stuff?
Well, it's kind of a mix. I think when the first few seasons, they would do kind of just your normal person, and then they would throw in survival experts. This season 7 is some pretty hardcore people who like teach survival and, you know, stuff like that.
Well, I guess for 100 days you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's what I heard about the recent season, that they're all hardcore. They're you know, people who you would expect to be prepared for that kind of a thing. So Yeah, it sounds like you can learn a lot from that. I'm a little bit jealous. The one part of me that's not jealous is the whole camera thing. Because I'm like, I need to have my focus on one thing, and if that's constantly just like pushing to the front of my thoughts, I don't know how well I would do if in that situation. Wow. So, but that for $1 million, 100 days, I mean, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are any of you three, would you sign up, try to be a contestant?
I don't think I would.
I don't
Really?
know. I mean, it might be fun to try. I would assume they have like an emergency beacon if they're like,
right?
Screw this, I'm out of here.
Yeah, they have a satellite phone. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could kind of maybe see how far you could get, you know? Mm-hmm. Push yourself.
It's weird because one of the guys was commenting that, if you're in an actual survival situation, you're like, there's no way out of this. I have to do this to survive. And he says, but here, I have this phone. And I know at any time I could call, and I know that I don't have to do this to survive. So he says it kind of messes with your mind a lot.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Derek, would you compete?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd leave tomorrow, with no prep. I just go try it.
Well, I don't see myself competing, so I guess I'll be taking care of Mufasa while you head out there.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago, our distant ancestors who were just expected to, survive without any of the modern things. And the entire human race wound up being able to do it. So there's got to be a chance. I know I'm bringing my 21st century soft body to the experiment, but still.
I think I would do it if I could bring my family with, but I wouldn't be able to stay 100 days without my family.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I one time stayed, this was years, probably 12, 13 years ago, I stayed at a farm, and I did this thing called woofing, which is like worldwide organic opportunities on organic farms or something. I forgot what it stands for. It's like, and I stayed there for 2 weeks, and I basically slept in a tent out on their farm, and in the morning you wake up and you do farm work all day. This is learning how to farm.
Wow.
And I just couldn't take it being away from the family. Like, I didn't think that that would be a huge problem, but after 2 weeks I was like, I can't do it. I got to go back home, and it's weird because like right now I think about it, I'm like, oh, I could probably last a month, but no, when you're there, it's a whole different thing. So
how interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are there many on the Alone series? Are there many women contestants in there?
The season 7 has 2, and actually, without spoilers, I know that one of them makes it pretty far.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Do you recall a season yet where anyone tapped out well before the 30 days? Where everyone tapped out, no one made it to the end.
Oh, no, I don't remember. Usually, someone makes it. I actually, since I haven't finished this one, I'm curious to know if everyone makes it or who makes it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Moving on, Lethal Virus is a movie that's releasing on the 27th of this month. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
That is correct, I believe.
What is it? It's on our calendar. I haven't looked into it yet.
Well, it's kind of it's a very low budget movie. And I think, didn't you put it in I think you brought it to my attention.
Yeah, it's because I noticed it was on the calendar. I guess, Sean, you had added it. It is apparently a pandemic zombie horror film, but it's out of Spain. So, I'm always interested in, foreign takes on the apocalypse. There's only a few novels that were written in, non-English that, were then translated over that I'm able to read. But at least with films, they can either, dub them or, even subtitles are okay for some movies. But, this one looks like it might be pretty good. Said we have the trailer on the postapocalypticmedia.com site.
Yeah.
And it comes out next week.
What I think is fascinating about this movie is, now, from what they say, They started writing it. They started filming it in 2018, 2019, and they were making it for the future. So it was originally called COVID-21.
No.
They called this movie COVID-21,
Really?
and that was before COVID-19. Yeah.
What?
And there's trailers from 2 years ago too where they called it COVID-21.
Huh.
And then they decided to change it, of course, because of things that have happened. And he has a quote about, he says, during the filming, the pandemic began and we watched in amazement as the script was transforming into reality before our eyes. So it's almost like, they started writing basically it's a pandemic that makes zombies, one of those kind of movies. But they
we'll
were
have to call it the Zeta variant. It turns into a zombie.
Right? How
I
did
just
they
think it's
come
funny.
up with COVID?
Well, I mean, COVID is a
Coronavirus.
Yeah, it's like coronavirus. COVID has been around for a while, but it's funny that they called it COVID-21.
Yeah.
Dang.
I seem to recall there was something with the TV show 24 where they were a little too close to reality and they had to postpone it for a year or two.
I saw a clip on that. Yeah, they were talking about the coronavirus, I think. Yeah.
Dang.
But that's everywhere. I mean, you look in the back of a Lysol can from years ago, and it'll say it kills the coronavirus. It's always
common
been a
cold
thing.
is the coronavirus.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay,
nice.
so moving on to the next thing. So I saw this headline the other day, and it blew me away. And I think Sean wrote this article about everything you should know about the Last of Us TV show. Who wrote that?
Yeah, I
Sean?
did.
Okay, yeah, so I heard that with The Last of Us, they're spending more than $10 million per episode.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
They and that's not. It doesn't make it the biggest production, but it's one of the biggest.
Do we know what Game of Thrones
I was just
episode
wondering that.
cost was?
That I don't know. I know that Amazon has a new Lord of the Rings that they're working on that's supposed to be a total of 465 million, and this one with 10 episodes would only be 100 million. I say only.
Wow.
But
I'm gonna
yeah,
see if I can find that Game of Thrones.
Huh.
I
I hope they're not
look it up.
40-minute episodes too. I hope they're an hour and a half at least for your $10 million.
yeah, get your money's worth.
Wow, yeah, that's so huge.
Yeah, I'm
All
still
right.
waiting for. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I wrote an article in the past about the cost of Game of Thrones episodes. I wrote this for Heavy, and it was the Long Night versus Battle of the Bastards budget, and which cost more. And so this is interesting to me. It said Battle of the Bastards took 25 days to film versus 55 nights for Battle of Winterfell, and it says that each of the episodes in season 6 of Game of Thrones cost more than $10 million each, and special effects increased the price. So the exact amount wasn't released, but it was known to cost more than $10 million. And then the Battle of Winterfell, which was the Long Night episode, cost more than $15 million. And the budget for the entire season of season 8 was $90 million.
Okay,
And so most of that budget is going into CGI, I guess? Is that right?
I guess so, but that means
Surely
The Last
not.
of Us is
Surely.
costing as much as Game of Thrones.
Someone
or
remind me
more?
what The Last of Us is about.
I mean, it's a pandemic, but it has
based on a video
3
game.
people in it. That's the thing that gets me.
Is it the zombies infected? What's the...
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's like infected, and I don't see how it could cost that
How?
much. I mean,
Unless
you
all
could
the
tell
zombies or...
Game of Thrones that makes sense, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
they have
Unless
dragons.
they're building practical sets,
I think-
maybe
yeah.
like big cityscapes.
That's
or
got to be
that kind
part of
thing?
it.
Yeah.
I think that's a bigger expense. I mean, getting some nerds in a room to make some CGI, that's not your biggest expense with the Game of Thrones stuff. You need to have 80 extras on call, for when the
Yeah.
weather,
Yeah,
is
maybe
just
all the
right.
zombies are, people that they had to pay every day.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah.
I mean, with that kind of a budget, and with the popularity of the game, I guess the story's, well done. So, done story and a lot of money. Hopefully, it turns out pretty good.
yeah.
Also, it's a Sony product, so maybe half of that goes towards Sony.
Well, yeah, it could be licensing.
Interesting.
Well, so anyways, to put that in context, Game of Thrones, when they were making that budget, was like a couple years ago, and Game of Thrones was the top TV show in the entire world. So that just goes to show how seriously Amazon is taking The Last of Us. It's Amazon, right?
HBO.
It's HBO. Oh, that's even better. I hesitate now, like, because Amazon's making some really great stuff. The Boys was really
Expanse was really good on Amazon too.
Expanse, that superhero show that we just finished. It was a cartoon.
Invincible. That was really good.
So yeah, Amazon's. Oh, and they had the fake history thing where the Nazis won the war. What was that one?
Man in the High Castle.
Man in the High Castle. Okay, so that was an excellent one, by the way. It's
good book too.
Oh, you read the book?
Yeah, I mean it's a classic book from 50, 60 years ago, something. One of those classic post-apoc that I like to read.
Yeah. It's securely post-apoc, I think you could say, at least in America. So definitely check that out sometime on Amazon. But yeah, they're taking The Last of Us so seriously. I would love to play The Last of Us. I've watched people play it quite a bit on YouTube. But Sony doesn't want to sell me a PlayStation. I'm still begging, but so far they haven't given me one. Moving on to there was Attack on Titan news this week, Steph. That isn't spoilery.
Well, it's not spoilery. It's not really. It was from a week before that, but I just wrote about it recently. The Blu-rays just released in Japan. The English language versions aren't out yet, but the Blu-ray for the first half of the final season released, and there's some interesting changes that they made to some character designs, to some and some other things that I think make purchasing it worthwhile, in my opinion. I have 2 articles up if you want to check it out. One of them that goes into detail about the differences between what you saw on TV or on Hulu or Funimation versus what is on the DVD. And then there's another one that talks about how if you just don't want to wait for the English version and you want to see the version in Japan, how you can go about getting it. So, 2 articles, 2 new stories about Attack on Titan Blu-ray. I think it's interesting, the changes that they made, just like to some characters, faces, and designs, and things. There are some changes that I really agreed with, and some changes that I was just kind of like, why exactly?
So what is this, the season 3 Blu-ray or?
Season 4.
Season 4 now. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The first half, or the first quarter of season 4. They're, the second half of season 4, the final half hasn't aired yet, and they're releasing the Blu-ray of what has aired in 2 different times. So
that is so confusing.
Yeah. I think I watched so far through mid-season 3 or so.
Oh.
And then because I thought the show was like ending, so I was gonna watch the whole thing. And then when I found out it isn't ending yet, then I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'll just come back later when I can, watch, the last of it. And then I'll watch it all at one time.
I get that, because there's some, each episode has major cliffhangers, and sometimes it can be really hard if you have to wait in between episodes.
Months. Yeah. To the next season, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like watching shows like that too. Wait till it's all the way out, then you can, choose your own pace.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on from that. Wait, one question, Steph. If I want to see the new material, can I get it on Funimation, or do I need to find the?
It's not on Funimation yet. No, you can see my story, which has some clips of the new material and compares it to the previous what was on TV, or you can buy the Blu-ray. The Japanese version. The English version isn't available. I've heard that it might be on streaming services at some point, but I haven't been able to confirm that, so I'm not certain.
Gotcha. Okay. Moving on. Sean has been playing a game that it looks so fascinating to me. It looks like a really fun game. Sean's put in several hours. It's called Project Zomboid,
Mhm.
and it is would you describe it as a battle royal kind of like a cooperative? You tell me what it's about since you played it.
It's actually, I play it cooperative with some friends, but it's kind of not made for that. Like, they just introduced multiplayer recently, so it's originally a single player game.
Oh.
And what it is it's, you have your basics of any kind of zombie survival game, and it's like a top, like a 3/4 view. It's kind of like a sprite based, where it looks like a I think that's what they call it when it looks like a lower res game, like an older game, like retro. And so you're the survivor, and it's almost like a roguelike too, where you can die, but then the world continues. Like when you kill zombies, well, there are settings, but you can set it so that when you kill zombies, they'll stay dead. And so you can keep coming back as different survivors and then clear out an area.
Oh, cool.
If you do that. So
Nice.
basically you start out as a survivor, and you can kind of customize a little bit and make your own person. And you start out in this random house. There's no mini map. So now, of course, people have made maps of the world and put it online, so you can look at maps, but there's no mini map in the game. So you don't know where you're at, and it takes a while to kind of get to know where you're at, because there are different little cities. It's a pretty big map. It's supposed to take place in Kentucky, like near Louisville. And so there's different cities you can go to, like suburbs and stuff like that. And each one has like a laundromat and a warehouse and a storage facility, and things that you would want to ransack for zombie survival stuff. So you basically go from house to house, building to building, finding items. You search everywhere. You scavenge through anything you can. You can take things apart. Once you get the skills and everything, you can take things apart, and you can save the materials, and then basically so that you can build your big base somewhere. You pick a place for your base.
Just 1 second. You mentioned skills. There's like a detailed skill tree, right? And you have an RPG ability to like select which ones you're prioritizing.
Yeah, it's a lot like Wasteland, where you can pick like careers, like a profession, and that profession will have like a group of skills with it. And picking a profession also has some bonuses. Like you can be a mechanic, for example, and so you'll have like auto repair skills. You'll have better like scavenging skills, and then it'll also play with your attributes a little bit. Like strength and agility and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really in-depth. I mean, I feel like I could never explain the entire game in this podcast. It's a very in-depth game. You have all that kind of stuff, the skill building, the building your attributes, and everything you do builds those things. Like if you're running, you're building up your endurance. If you're building all the time, you're building up your building skills.
Wow. So it's
things
just
break.
It's like analyzing your gameplay behavior and giving you rewards based upon what you're prioritizing your time on.
Yeah, I mean, it takes elements from so many different games, and it puts them together. It's like the best of all these different games it puts in there. I really enjoy it. I think they've done a really great job. Now it's difficult. It's pretty hardcore. Like my friends and I play it. It took us a couple weeks to even get to the point where we could find each other, and I think that's an example of how hardcore it is. We had to look on the map. Now we cheated a little bit by looking at a website map, but you still don't know where you're at. You still have to go, okay, I'm in this house, and then there's 5 rooms in it, and the map is gigantic. So you can't really scroll through and look for your house. It would take forever. So you run around and you look for points of interest, and then you tell your friends, okay, I just found a laundromat, and they're like, well, which one is it? And and you have to describe it, and then so they're like, oh, I just saw the laundromat, and so I don't know. You have to find each other, and then when it turns night, you have really limited field of view, and you only see a little bit in front of you. And it's also, I don't know what they call that, but when you look forward, you can only see what's in front of you. So when you're turning, everything behind you is dark, so you don't see everything around you while you're walking around.
I love that.
So there could be a zombie behind you.
Wow.
And you can hear it, and then you'll turn and you'll see it right there, and see again, there's so much to it. So you have all this stuff that I just described, which is not even all of it, and then you have to contend with fighting zombies. And the zombies are tough. If you get more than 2 on you, you're dead. And there's a whole system where if they bite you, you get infected. You have to have doctor skills. So like one of my friends has advanced his doctor skills, and he has to change the bandages, and we have to find antiseptic, and we have to treat the wound, and it's so deep. It's such a deep game, and it's really, I love it. I recommend it for anyone out there who likes deep, RPG, anything like that. It's a really good game. That's my official endorsement.
Nice.
All right. Well, you've sold me. I'm going to try it. That sounds amazing. I watched a little bit of people playing it on YouTube, and I, started feeling a little jealous. And so I was like, okay, I'll stop now.
And you're playing on Steam?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
What? Yeah. How much does it cost?
I got it on sale during the winter sale, and I think it was only like $9 or something. It's pretty cheap.
Oh, wow.
I think normally it's only like 14, somewhere around there.
Oh, okay. No, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's a pretty cheap game.
All right. And one more question about that before I move on. So, is the goal, it's a roguelike, so the goal is really just to make it as long as you can go, and that number is like your high score?
Yeah, I mean, you build your base, and it's a survival game, where you build your base. I don't know, I can't even imagine an end game because you just, it's so hard right now to even get to that point. Now, I have watched some videos of people who made incredible bases where they got metal skills and they're welding, metal walls and all. I'm like, I can't even imagine getting to that point right now. But yeah, it gets really in depth, and I imagine the end game is just keep building and keep surviving. That's what I would think.
All right. All right. So moving on, we have some news about the Dune trailer. I didn't hear what that was. What's going on with that?
Just real briefly, they're coming out with an exclusive Dune trailer in IMAX theaters. By the time this podcast comes out, though, that might already be out. Because I don't remember the date specifically. I think it was maybe tomorrow and the next day, then when we're recording this, and then on the 23rd, I believe either that trailer specifically or a similar new trailer is going to be released digitally. So by the time you're listening to this, that digital trailer has either just been released or is going to be released. So They are hyping Dune. Bottom line.
All right. Well, that normally a trailer releasing isn't, a huge deal, but the fact that they are doing an IMAX trailer kind of tells me that maybe they're excited about the IMAX experience of the movie Dune. And that being the case, I think I'm going to try to see it in IMAX if that's what it's releasing in.
Oh.
So
that could be fun.
Yeah, so I'll be looking up. We live in Austin, so there's probably a few options. But
I don't think I have an IMAX theater around here.
Really?
Bummer.
Yeah, we used to have one in Waikiki, but not anymore. So
I wonder if there's like a VR substitute for IMAX.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Put on the goggles and you have like a huge screen right in front of you.
Oh,
then you don't have to do that, or
right.
Okay, so that was the Dune trailer news. Dune isn't very far away though, right? It's just a few months, right?
Yeah. What is it? October, December now?
I think it's coming out in October.
October, not long. All right. We are almost to the end of the show. We are just about to talk about War of the Worlds, but before that, we're going to talk just a little bit about Loki. Now, if you don't know what Loki is the newest Disney series. Now, Disney has, for the past year plus, released one series after another that have been very popular. And that started with The Mandalorian, then we had WandaVision, Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then something else before Loki, right? I think there was another one. Anyways, Loki is in the Marvel Universe. As you know, Marvel Universe, not post-apocalyptic, but they have a lot of apocalypses, and they have glimpses into the post-apocalypse that could be, I guess, or maybe other dimensions. It's just not the central primary focus of the series, and so we don't really deal with it as a post-apocalyptic series. However, sometimes they linger a little too long in our territory, and we have to acknowledge that. So in Loki, apocalypses play a role. Let's just say that throughout the series, and so we don't want to spoil anybody on Loki. It just finished, so we're being very calculated in what we say on here about it. Anybody else have something to interject about Loki?
I would just say if you like apocalypse scenes, you should give Loki a try. I would also add that if you're curious, if you've seen Loki and you want to learn more about our take on it, or if you just don't mind being spoiled, Tina recently wrote an article about Loki and the apocalypse, and it's on our website, so you should go check that out.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Anybody else? I liked Loki. I'll just say that. I really liked it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was good. And there's going to be a season 2, so we'll get to see more.
Woohoo!
Huzzah. Yeah, that was great. And just about every single one of these Disney series, I have gone in, kind of dragging my feet, I don't want to, but then I end up really liking it. I'll say the exception was WandaVision.
Really?
But that's not
like
a very popular opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have gone through the news of the week. One thing I wanted to mention is that when you're writing online, there's not really an award ceremony where you get to brag about how you won the Emmy or something like that. But there is a crown you can wear, and that is when Google decides that you are the chosen worthy one, and you get that top billing in search results. And I just wanted to shout out several of our authors are now #1 search results for various search terms. So, Steph, what were those search terms that we're receiving?
Well, this is the last time I looked. Now, Google search results change constantly, so there is a chance that by the time you hear this, these may be ranking differently. So just want to put that disclaimer out there. However, Tina's Loki story, if you want to find it super easily, at least last time I checked, you could just Google Marvel Loki Apocalyptic, and it was the #1 result. Also, if you looked up Loki Apocalypse TV, it was also the first result. So if that's still the case, that is a very easy way to find that story. And congratulations, nice, Tina.
Good job.
Also, the last time I checked, if you looked up post-apocalyptic Emmy nominee, you would find Sean's story about all the post-apocalyptic Emmy nominees. Woohoo! So, congratulations, Sean. We outranked a lot of people on that one. Washington Post and New York Post. We outranked them. We were in the carousel and the top result. As well we should. That's right.
Very
That's
cool.
right.
Very cool.
So that was another really good one. And at one point also, if you Googled Attack on Titan Season 4 Part 2 Return, I don't know if it was just Part 4 Return or Part 4 Return Date. We were #1 on that too, beating comicbook.com. I feel particularly proud of that one, although beating Washington Post is pretty huge. So, so we were doing quite well.
Yeah, comicbook.com is more like our rival. So you could maybe go to a bowl and beat some team that's high ranked, but it feels differently when you go and you beat your rival. So, huzzah! Beatingcomicbook.com is something I want to bring up on the show whenever it happens. All right. So, without further ado, all right. First of all, I want to thank you all for joining us. We're here to spread the good news, spread the gospel about post-apocalyptic. That may be a charged word, but I'm a Greek guy, so that means good news in my lexicon. So spread the good news about post-apocalyptic. We have a post-apocalyptic website, just postapocalyptic.com. That's all you got to type into your web browser, and you will get us and the news every day. We have new articles going up. We just stay on top of it all as best as we can. So please come by, read our articles, support us if you like what we're doing. We have a calendar there. You can look on that calendar and be up to date on what's coming up. On the show we can only cover so much, but you can go months in advance and see what's coming up. You'd see that Matrix is coming up later in this year. Maybe you need to do a rewatch of Matrix 1 through 3. I know I do. You'll only know that if you go to our calendar.
True.
Exclusive news about Matrix 4. Okay, so anyways, I want to thank you all for joining us. You guys, we do a weekly podcast. They drop on Fridays. So if you're looking to incorporate us into your schedule, that's our schedule and what we're trying to do. We are now going to launch into a War of the Worlds discussion. So if you are interested in War of the Worlds, what channel is that on?
Epics.
That's on Epics. All right. So if you're interested in it and watching it, it's on Epics. You're going to have to pay for it, I'm afraid. That's just how it is. So we are in season 2. Season 2's not over, correct?
Correct.
That better not have been the finale.
It was not.
Okay, so yeah, we're midway through season 2, or towards the end, I don't know. And it's on Epics. Check it out. It's dark, and that's all I'm really going to say about it before people watch it. It's its own thing.
Just a reminder, season 1 is in fact still free, so you can watch that in its entirety.
Nice.
I think it's even on Amazon. And then you can decide if you want to subscribe to continue watching into season 2.
Oh, that's great.
All right, yeah, and that's probably like $5 or $6 a month to get Epics. So it's not like break the bank. It wasn't like HBO used to be and Epics used to be and stuff. It's a little cheaper now, but it's still kind of annoying. War of the Worlds, spoiler time. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you don't want to be spoiled, go away right now, and we'll give you plenty of time while Stephanie does the spoiler song.
Ding, 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 ding. Spoiler alert. Ding, 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 ding. Spoilers. The spoiler song is different every time because I don't remember my original tune, but there you go.
All right. Now that it's just us, we can really lay it all out there. Bill, you are not caught up, correct? You've finished season 1?
No, I watched season 1. I intend to watch season 2 someday, but I'm basically going to wait till it's done. Like you said, maybe just do 1 month subscription to watch them all at one time. But you're welcome to disclose any facts you want about season 2.
Okay. What about you, Sean? Where are you at?
I have not even started. I suck.
Okay.
Sean.
All right. Well,
But you can spoil away because I won't remember any of this. It's fine.
Yeah.
Sean.
I want to say that it's an option. We can kick you guys out and
No. I'd rather hear it.
the end. Okay.
The thing I'm most interested in is going through season 1, and criticism other people have raised is that other than the title being War of the Worlds, you wouldn't know that this is supposedly a retelling of the War of the Worlds story. There's no, the tripods are the classic enemies, that kind of thing. It could just be any random alien invasion story. In season 2, do we finally get more War of the Worlds trademark kind of baddies or anything? Still no.
No, it's still its own retelling.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And I thought that maybe there would be a change of pace for season 2. I thought season 1 would kind of set it up, and I kind of feel like maybe they're not really evolving that much with season 2. It's a lot more of the same. So if you enjoyed season 1, you'll probably enjoy season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
On that,
You'll get annoyed at certain parts, but you'll also enjoy it.
yeah. Right now, okay. So this is a series that focuses on the relationships. Normally, a series tries to mix them and sometimes doesn't focus on the relationships as much as they ought to. I think War of the Worlds is maybe on the other side of that, where they're focusing a little too much on the relationships and interpersonal stuff, and they need to get to some more action. That's my feel on it. But they're taking you kind of through this journey of total war, I feel like, because what we witnessed in season 2 is asymmetrical warfare, where the characters that we're following are still trying to inject their humanity into this battle, and the enemy is doing the most horrific things to them over and over. And so you're waiting for the shoe to drop and for them to realize, oh, this is an existential war. I cannot have mercy on my enemies.
Yeah.
But they haven't really gone through that transition like I expected them to. My opinion is that a real person in that situation gets there fairly quickly, and almost none of these characters are there. So that's been bothering me.
Yeah, me too. They're just way too lenient, with people, like a girl who was on the ship and may have been brainwashed by them, and they're just like, no, we can't just lock her up forever. We have to be real sweet to her and understanding. I was like, really? Like,
Yeah.
get Admiral Adama from Battlestar Galactica in charge over here, because he would take care of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I forget the exact example I'm trying to remember, but there was something in season 1, almost like people were having visions or something that they didn't really describe if it was actually supernatural or if there was a science explanation for it. Does that get resolved in season 2?
It gets addressed. They're not really explaining the mechanism of it, and how it works, but they're definitely addressing it more, and not, I just felt like Bill Ward's the only guy who's really taking things as seriously as or almost as seriously as he should, although he still has a little bit too much sympathy for aliens.
Yeah, Bill Ward takes a stand against torture of the enemy at some point, and that doesn't really make sense in light of what we know.
From my perspective, I got it, because I think they didn't really address this as his reason why, but torture doesn't always get you real answers. People tend to be more likely to make up fake stuff. If they're being tortured, you're not necessarily getting to the heart of the the information you need. I don't think that was really, and he wants to maintain our humanity. I don't know, though. But he does what needs to be done when it has to, like if he's trying to create an alien virus, he does what he has to do.
But he's making decisions based on things he doesn't know the full context of. So you can say, oh, he experimented on the girl, therefore he's doing what needs to be done when it has to. We don't know, the captive that he lets loose. We don't know what kind of intel they could have gotten from her.
I agree with you. He should not have considering the type of war that they're engaging in, letting that captive go was a bad decision. Absolutely. Like we saw him doing what needed to be done in previous episodes, but then it's like he abandons that mindset. Like, I totally understood him trying to take her away from the people who had her, because they weren't treating what they had, with the scientific value that she could have brought, I felt. But I don't know. But yeah, he shouldn't have let her go. He's kind of gone back and forth as far as, this is an existential threat, doing what needs to be done, and then not doing that anymore. So that's a good
Yeah,
point.
he's been inconsistent. The several characters have been that way. The only character that I suspect is even on the level with what needs to be done is the boy, the brother to the girl who is having the visions. He seems to be maybe understanding,
Emily's brother.
but I think that the minority would actually be the people who don't want to go to total war and who don't want to do whatever it takes to win. That just seems to be like in human to human conflict. Like people get to that place pretty quick. So I just, I think they could be a little more. But I guess maybe they're evolving them in that direction and just taking way longer than
I mean, it
can
doesn't make
tolerate.
sense. Like, the aliens wiped out almost all of humanity, and they're killing them. So, with
And they're
no
aliens.
hesitation.
It's not like they're, well, as far as I know, they're not humans.
Yeah, they make that a
They-
question. They make it a question. So
Yeah. That's a big thing in season 2.
Yeah, I remember that part about they came home or whatever. So
Yeah. Now we know that at the very least they're strongly related to humans. We don't really know the mechanism of if they're humans, if they're from another planet, but they're related to us. I mean,
yeah, because
there's
in
a
the
lot of
show
questions.
they didn't even come from Mars, right? Didn't they come from deep space?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another difference of the actual War of the Worlds.
Yes,
Is they're not
and-
Martian.
Yeah, and they've introduced a potential time travel element to it that has not been
nice.
explained yet, too.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
We're like-
questions.
Fighting our future evolved selves.
Yeah, like they're definitely, we know that they're related to us somehow, but we don't know how. And so there's a lot of questions to it, but they don't care about us. Bottom line, they wiped out all of humanity, and they still will kill people every chance they get. So, Derek, your point is valid. Like, this should be more of a Battlestar Galactica type of mindset, where we don't trust them no matter what.
Yeah.
And we're not taking any chances with them.
Yeah. So we just watched the Tomorrow War. That's our kind of movie, and then they're watching the Yesterday War, about the war of going back and killing people in the past. I guess is in their culture.
Best we can tell. Yeah, it's weird.
Huh. And this is what, 8 or 10 episodes into season 2?
I think we're on episode 6.
Was that all? Okay.
5 or 6 is what we just watched. I think 6, but don't quote me on that. It's either 5 or 6.
Yeah, I was trying to remember how much season 1 had, but I don't remember if it was 10 or 12.
Yeah, I want to say maybe.
13.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to say maybe 10, but I'm not positive. I'll have to look into that.
Well, okay. So as much as I complain about War of the Worlds, and I do, and I will. I'm
Still
going to
entertaining.
watch the next one. I'm going to
Yeah.
keep going, and
Absolutely.
it would take a lot to get me to stop at this point.
Yep.
I am.
You got to get your $6 a month worth.
That's so true. It's not as popular, I would expect there to be a bigger community of people watching it. Like I haven't written about it yet. Like, I want to write about the plot and stuff, but I also typically like to dig into Reddit communities and see what parts of the plot people were most interested in when I'm covering TV shows, just to get an idea of what they'll be interested in reading. There is a Reddit community for War of the Worlds, but they do not talk about the show hardly at all. And if someone brings something up, there's 5 replies. It's just interesting to see that there is just very little community interest.
Well, on that note, though, this is Epix. We had
Yeah.
to sign up for Epix to even get the show.
Yeah.
Good point.
I have no way of watching it, yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard. And, I see Brave New World, fantastic show. Almost nobody talking about it. Why? It was hidden
point.
behind a service that nobody had.
That's a good point. And maybe the exception is new things on HBO Max, because I know oh geez, what was the name of that show that about the robots?
Raised by
That we-
Wolves or something?
Yes, thank you. I keep thinking Mother because they called the robot Mother all the time, and I keep getting stuck on that. But you're right, Raised by Wolves. There is a big interest in that, but I guess HBO Max is a little different.
Yeah, more people have that than Epics.
Exactly. Everybody works their way up. So I think that season 2 on Apple, season 1 suffered from the same thing. It was one of the first good series on the platform. Now that it's been around for a little while, more people are going to have it. I bet season 2 has better ratings.
Very good point.
So a lot of these places, they just need a few hits. CBS All Access was like that. First few seasons of Discovery.
Discovery, yeah.
Great
show,
seasons.
by the way.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
So, they've got to build up. We'll see what Epix does. I think in the past, these little, Epix and Showtime and stuff, they'll have like these one-offs that are good and then nothing for a long time. So hopefully that's not the case with Epix.
Yeah, hopefully it gets enough viewership or new subscribers that they either wrap it up well in season 2 or it gets a season 3, because we definitely wouldn't want it to just get cut off.
You know what? I read a headline somewhere that it's been renewed for a 3rd season.
Oh, no way. I have not seen that.
It might be more popular in the UK because it releases first overseas with like BBC, I think maybe. I'm not positive. So
yeah, it's like a joint French-British production, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it's just on, it's available other ways there, and that's where they're making their money. And then Epix just paid for it to be on their platform. Maybe
that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Then maybe it'll keep going.
half of War of the Worlds is in French. It's something I don't love because I'll be like in the kitchen grabbing something and they'll be talking.
Exactly.
I had all the dialogue.
That same thing. I watch everything on my computer screen while I'm browsing Reddit, and if I don't understand, that means I have to actually watch it. So yeah, it was sort of a pain.
Yep.
But I was thinking about trying to get like a screen reader app that would like read me the subtitles while they were
interesting.
I don't know if it exists, but I almost went to go look for one.
That's a good solution if it exists.
Yeah, or you know how they have descriptive versions like for the blind? That'd be interesting too if they had that available.
Oh, yeah. That might be a solution there.
Yeah, that'd be way better.
If you hate subtitles,
at least they're appealing to some audiences that don't get appealed to, probably as much. I've noticed that, Tribes of Europa has much larger European audience. They use a lot of different languages.
It's true.
So maybe that's kind of the key, is kind of incorporating other people's languages and cultures a little bit to get that viewership.
It's just good for the genre if we spread out and make it more inclusive.
Yeah. Everybody should be, aware of the nuclear bomb threat and the other threats to our existence on this planet. So, naturally, the United States and Japan very interested in the nuke, but France has nukes too, and anybody could be the victim of a nuke. So, on that high point, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thank you all for sticking around to the end. You are troopers, and you are true fans if you're watching War of the Worlds with us. And even if you're not, like these two over here, they'll
still
catch
true
up.
fans.
All right, you guys, be safe out there, and as always, be ready for the big one. Bye, y'all.
Bye.